Senate have the wisdom, patience, and guidance to be responsible representatives. May we be fair in judgments, enlightened in our discussions, and ethical in our actions. Can I get a go Broncos?
Go Broncos!
And then we have someone with the other side out.
Also acknowledge that Santa Clara University is challenging with the Constitution and will increase the Institute of Traditional Lore of Santa Clara University. We regulate connections to this region and thanks for the opportunity to let work, learn, and play, right on their traditional land. Let's take a moment of silence to pay respect to their elders and to all the living and past and present.
I can leave.
So I have a motion to amend the agenda. Is there a second? Motion from Nash, second from Tiago. All those in favor of amending, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay. Well, I'll just, we're gonna take off and the city chairs off the agenda this week, because, just for conditions, but, so we'll do this, that's what it is. Motion from Grace and Gonzalez. All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, say aye. All those opposed, say no. Today's agenda is approved.
Then next we got this.
which is why. But it's up to you.
No, that makes sense. Because I would want to hear it say, like, I would want to say like motion to wipe out with the exception of like what it was that everyone wanted to do. But I
And then we can also like, we can work on it, discuss, like, if we talk for 5 minutes and we realize, okay, there's this time that we don't have on with, we can work on it, discuss for another 4 meetings, and then do that. So it doesn't have to be voting all at once.
understood.
Does that make sense, everyone? Okay. Does anybody have a specific place or specific PSO that they want to start with? Do you have something?
No, can I add something? I also have constitutions in the case if I want it. I also have descriptions of the clubs. So just let me know how I can check. They're all different clubs.
Are there all different clubs? Alright.
Let's just, we're going to start discussion, so, we should keep the other conversations moving. Like example, any comments on that PSO specific? Motion from Mary, second from Grace. All those in favor of the voting say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Now voting on the Law Society.
Yeah, I just have a really quick question. I wasn't here last Senate meeting, so this is about voting whether each individual club should get funding for the year or not, right?
Yeah, it becomes an RSO and subsequently gets privileges of RSO, which is funding and, things like risk and stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to further clarify that funding is not necessarily guaranteed. It's still up to Senate discretion. So even if we approve a club to become an RSO, we can still approve versus other funding depending on what they're asking for. So, yeah, just if that happens this year. Okay.
Just to like open them up to funding.
And it opens which will be able to discuss, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of voting say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Okay, now voting, we're gonna do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, good. Congratulations. First one's down, 17 to go. Okay. Anywhere else you want to go next?
I have a second.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do multiple wipeouts?
Yes.
Thank you.
I was going to say, should we do credit assessment just so that we knock out the other things?
How does that sound? Okay. Let's do it.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of voting, say aye. Motion from Liv, second from Liv. All those in favor of voting on credit investment fund, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. Okay, now voting. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. All right, congratulations.
Should we just go in order?
Yeah, I like that idea. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay, cool. Okay. Any comments here?
Motion to vote.
Second.
Right, motion from Grace, those pretty easily. And then we'll circle back to the ones that maybe we have more questions on. That makes it a lot easier on someone who is also just more efficient and make sure that we're actually having the conversations. Yeah. But any comments on impact? Yeah.
I'm not really a political science student, but I know there's a lot of like political science related adjacent RSLs already. So would someone in that sort of major field be willing to talk about whether or not you guys think there's a need for it or a space for it?
I asked that question to them. I was like, wait, I thought that there was already a poli-sci club. And they said that there wasn't one, and their main focus is working with alumni. And they said they have a ton of alumni events that they've already done. And specifically, the poli-sci alumni are really passionate about giving back to the students because they feel like they don't really have an outlet right now. So I did ask that question, and they had a really good response.
Most of body science stuff is departmental and pre-law based. And this is the only time that I've got it's going to be genuinely student led. I think it's a great outlet for students to talk about political science, not necessarily in the law field, to actually go and discuss really clear issues.
As someone who is the head of a poli-sci club, I think that this is a perfect branch, overall organization. I think there has been a missing space. I think Ignite has its space, but there has been a missing collective of poli-sci students. I think a lot of people don't know each other, and I think this is a really good space for that to be. So, just my 2 cents.
I was also going to say, Impact is a resurgence of the older poli-sci club, so it's really leaned into both big poli-sci events like the Acropolis, which is our banquet, but also just very connected with the faculty. So it's kind of a central piece that the department has been missing for a few years.
Other comments or questions? Questions or votes?
I don't think we're doing that.
We can go to the. It's up to you guys. You guys can do it how you want. That was my suggestion in terms of efficiency. But yeah. But anything else on moving on. Business SU informs. Comments on SU informs.
So I have a comment. So there is an information systems club. I think it's information systems and analytics club board on campus. And they basically do the same exact thing. They have speaker events. They have professors coming to talk to them, and they have a similar mission as well. So I don't see the need for this though.
Are you talking about the PSO?
No, they're an RSO. They're called Information Systems and Analytics Student Network, which is an RSO.
Okay, because I believe Informs is joining with another club, another RSO, and then they're turning into this organization.
What club are they in?
I'm not an expert there, but
Because this is also a nationally recognized organization.
yeah.
So you might have to know. I don't know if they-
There.
I'll just clarify, the way they described it to me was I think they're absorbing another club. Not they're joining, but they're absorbing.
So do you know what club they're combining with?
I wish I wrote it down. I don't know. But I think it, yeah. It's, from what they said, it sounds like it might be the one you're describing, but I don't know for sure, so I don't want to say it.
Okay. So that was a really well established club. They have events and everything and whatnot. So I don't know.
with the club that already
Yeah, so just to provide some context, there's currently a club that is an RSO called Information Students and Analytics Student Network. I've gone through a few of their events, and I do agree with what somebody said, talking about how they're sort of a more like management or business. Sorry, losing my screen. In any case, from like talking to them and like the presentation, like seeing what events they've already done, what they plan on doing, this one really does seem more sort of geared towards the sort of technology side, sort of analytics side. And I think it's similar to poli-sci, having like different branches like pre-law and other stuff. I think that's kind of the same case for this sort of major. Just to kind of add to that, I don't have anything to add. Yeah.
Are we good to move to the next one?
I just
Oh, yeah,
had
sorry.
a question. I was just thinking, if we come to a consensus on a club, and we don't vote and wait till the end, which why the consensus is on the share might get lost in that. If what I can get consensus is that we don't, if we vote, I should quickly just vote like we would have, and then if there's no big deal, we can come back to it. But I feel like maybe we just covered that.
So like you're saying we should go like right after?
Just so everyone's fresh and online, so we're back to 16 right now.
Okay, I mean, yeah, it's
As senators, okay, Claire is not the one dictating this meeting. You guys have motioning powers. We don't have to discuss and go back and forth, because it takes one motion and 1 second to make a decision that you guys can vote on. So,
yeah.
so anyone interrupt me and like motion.
Yeah.
Just that there's only 10 clubs left to vote on, and from what I've been talking to people, I don't think there's many that are going to be like that up for contention, so I don't think time is going to be that much of a concern.
I'll just,
So that's,
you guys can motion to do anything at any time, and it's like my job to respect that and to recognize the motion. So
I think we should motion to vote for this class and the club of the women.
alright, so motion to like that.
Motion is like as student forums and impact.
Motion by Tiago, second by Charlie. All those in favor of voting on impact and SU reports? Say aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay. Now voting on these two clubs, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Alright. They are both approved. Moving on to the others. And again, we can structuralize, we can do it however you guys want. Yeah, Liz?
Motion to limit discussion of each club to 10 minutes.
Second. Motion from Liz, second from Grace. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed. Alright, we're gonna do that in all very little time to go to each club. So, yeah, now we're doing the tech sales. Comments? Yeah.
again, does anyone in the sort of business school want to talk a little bit about whether or not there's a need for this, and like, if not, like textiles are like integrated into other stuff?
Coming from an engineering point of view, I think this is definitely needed. I don't really know of any other club that's doing tech sales or sales in general. That was kind of one of the points that they made, and they seemed like they had a really good plan going forward, at least for the next couple of years, and so I'm very in favor of this kind of stuff.
I would just say, just having sales skills is super transferable to like any industry you're working in. I mean, I literally, like, I'm an accounting major. I got offered a real estate internship because my personality kind of fit someone's sales personality. And I just think we don't have a space where students can, inform and develop these skills. So I think this is really great. They also mentioned they're going to Salesforce Tower. Yeah, that one. In a few weeks, which I thought was really cool.
organization document, technically they're not supposed to be like hosting events, which is kind of strange. But I can link that if you guys are.
I don't know if I can talk, but you can ask me if you have anything about any club, but yeah, they don't get any funds, they don't get anything, they're not supposed to have events, but there's not a way for them to get to 15 members if they don't have like a general meeting or board meetings or whatever. So I do allow them to host the meetings about creating community and creating spaces for them. They are very recent, but they don't have the means to create these big events. Some leaders are part of other clubs, and that's where they know how to do it, and they get it really quick, and they set up these quick events and like off-campus trips, but not everyone's the same.
Just to quote the CSI document I pulled up, it says, as a PSO, your organization will not have access to discretionary funds from ASG, is not permitted to host events, and blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of just like, I understand your point of view that there's not as much evidence for us to think whether or not they're good or that they're a good PSO, but at the same time, I would also say that like, we shouldn't hold it against them if it's just like the law and the technicalities that are like stopping them, it's not them themselves, you know what I mean?
Sure, yes, I understand that, but it is still, I mean, very, very recent, and I didn't know that PSOs weren't allowed to host meetings. Every other PSO I feel like I know of had been having lots of events. So that's interesting.
Did you have something, Charlotte?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't think, it was basically what I said, I don't think just because they have not done something that we should just be automatic.
I got the impression from talking with them, and like, I absolutely welcome like more business perspectives on this as well, but I got the impression from them that product management is like a field that is very common for graduates to like fall into that field and to like wind up employed in that area, but it was mostly like on circumstance, and so they were, after talking with alumni, talking with recent graduates, found that it would be a lot more beneficial if there was a space to develop those skills in product management earlier on as an undergrad, so that they could see that career as like much more viable for them, looking into like internships while they were still in undergrad, getting into that field, so it didn't seem like such a shock when that was like just where they got into like upon graduation. And so I thought that was pretty interesting that they seemed to think that there was a gap in undergrad in developing and understanding that field, similar to like how we just talked about tech sales, and like seeing that like that's a very common path for people to take after graduation, but not when they were able to take an undergrad. I see that as being like a pretty applicable argument here as well.
And I think going back to what Sonia was talking about earlier, I don't fully understand the difference between product space and product management, but given that you're talking about whether clubs are already hosting events around product space, is that including product management? From what you're hearing, do you think there's a necessity for another club that does that? Because like, regardless of whether or not they're hosting events, I think that's what's really important to talk about.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, regardless of it, the events they want to host, because I'm shadowing like the events they want to host, like case studies, and a lot of clubs already do case studies, there's a lot of systems that to it. I'm not exactly sure if it's centered towards product management, so I'm not necessarily super on that, but I know that for events that they want to host, it really is the ones they want to already host.
maintain a student body, maintain the organization to sort of continue that. So I know several RSOs like every year just like they stop functioning, and that doesn't mean they stay on the list. They kind of stop being RSOs. They come off the list. Other point I was gonna mention is that correct me if I'm wrong, business people, but I feel like from what I understand about case studies and a few business classes I've taken, is that like similar to how like like political science clubs might have like debates and such. I feel like case studies are kind of just a way to like express and sort of like go through their specific niche. The same way how like maybe like there can be like a diversity debate and there can be like immigration debate. I believe there could also be like a product management case study and a financial case study or something like that.
I have a quick question. Like, let's say hypothetically, like we have a PSO, we don't know who we are, so like, they could still be a PSO in future years.
So actually, they can appeal the decision, and then we'll go back to the judiciary. Or, not sure. But, yeah, but they can appeal the decision if y'all reject it, and then we get to talk about it. And I have done it before that the next year they can run for a PSO again and try again with a whole new year and whatever. Also wanted to add a little comment of the niche thing. I think we have had like too many clubs already that are not active right now, and it's really hard because if we had a club that's not active but they want to just renew it, they can do it rather than going through the whole PSO process for sending and having to like not have any funding or anything. Maybe ASG bylaws say that every 4 years we have to delete all of those inactive clubs, and we haven't been doing that. So that's probably something that I want to work on next year. But you're going to see a lot of niche clubs because if not, they would have gone through the renewal process.
We're at 10 minutes. Essentially, we're at a tiebreaker situation, so we're going to vote yes, and
So just so people know, the Senate chair has always had the right to vote. It's just, they just use it judiciously.
comments, questions, concerns?
I will be voting no on this club. I just found that talking to them, they really didn't have a very concise vision. And I tried to ask them very specific questions of like what leadership actually looks like to them, how you practice that, and how you like educate and actualize it. And it just kind of felt like, I don't know, it didn't feel like they were conducting themselves in a very professional manner when discussing the active leadership. And we all as student leaders, like that's integral to our jobs as well. So I didn't get the sense that they were very like committed to what they were trying to create, and they more so just wanted to say that they ran a leadership club while they were in college. I understand that the professor they're working with is like very renowned in their field, a lot of books sold, like a very impressive person, but that to me looks more like a mentorship relationship than bringing in other students to cultivate leadership.
I'll say that last quarter, first off, I will also be voting no. The president of this PSO spoke to me last quarter talking about their intentions to create this leadership club, and even back then, I really couldn't truly see a productive vision that they have for what this organization was supposed to be. I think the idea that they spoke about that there aren't leadership opportunities on this campus is really untrue for me. I'm looking around this room right now. This is an organization centered around leadership. I think we have 161 RSOs that exist already, other CSOs. Like there are leadership opportunities in every single one of those organizations. And like Grace was saying, both in their talking to them one-on-one and also in their presentation, they spoke about hosting leadership events. Not once did they elaborate on what exactly that meant. I could see a vision that they had. And one thing that also bothered me personally was every other PSO that spoke had every single one of its members participate in the conversation. This was the only organization where only one person spoke the entire time. And I think that is antithetical to leadership as well.
So I know a lot of the leaders on this team. They're some of the hardest working people I know. And they believe that this club is meant to teach leadership in a variety of scenarios. A lot of the clubs that Tiago mentioned that also have leadership opportunities, they are very specific to certain groups, whereas this club would be trying to teach leadership in a flexible manner, which I find to be important because we don't really see that, or at least I haven't seen that.
Echoing both Grace and Tiago, the vibe that I got from them, based on the fact that they didn't really have a point to hook up, and then also that one person was speaking the entire time, it felt more like they were trying to control the narrative and be the leaders themselves while having people understand that.
one of the other clubs, you know, they were there for that, you know, they held events, they like tried and tested. This club just seemed like more fluff and like buzzwords rather than actual like accountability, which I think is really important for the community. And our sector, I want to take away from like, it's a really big deal with being ours, but I think it was something to take out of the club. I also had a question. When I heard the comment they said we will not haze, I don't entirely know why that was mistaken. I'll say it seems to me like they might haze. That's
I wanted to add to that. So actually, they were doing really bad with Constitution, so I made a template of the Constitution, and that's one of them that I have statements that I just have there. So I told them like to not edit it, so it's just there. You will not haze. Also follow the code of conduct and stuff. But if you see the constitutions, a lot of them are like pretty similar, so we have to be looking into details. But some of those are things like that. Yeah, it's a template.
Second.
Motion from Charlie, second from Rich. All those in favor of voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Now voting, we are gonna do a. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Women in cybersecurity, any comments, questions, concerns? Yeah.
This is one of the clubs I'm pretty most enthusiastic about. I was talking with the leadership and they seem really passionate. And I actually got in contact with them because I thought my mom would be a great speaker for them. And they are already planning ahead, trying to create events. And I just wanted to share that with you all because they're very, I think they're displaying a lot of good leadership and a lot of really good initiative.
I agree completely with Mateo, and again, like I said with student forums, like this is one that's a national charter to connect to, and so that will also like support them moving through. I understand that we have a lot of overlap within school of engineering as well, like kind of similar to the business school, and even more specifically, like some organizations that are also specific to like women in engineering. Those are important spaces to cultivate, and so honestly, from my perspective, the more opportunities to create that structured support for groups that otherwise like are entering really difficult fields on the
Could someone in engineering, like, say how this is different than like ACMW is specific sense of something?
In my opinion, how it went through is all these clubs used to be different clubs in my freshman year at least, and slowly one after the other, everything got absorbed by ACM as a whole. I'm pretty sure it's going to get absorbed too in the near future, because as a CS student, every time you went to an event, right, it's basically like a whole ass conglomerate, like, that's what my opinion is on it. I actually really would yes, but that's eventually what's going to happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for now, like, their responses when I asked them about, like, how they're different and stuff, they do set themselves apart a lot, but I'm gonna, like, say the same thing. I feel like eventually they might be absorbed, because that's what usually ends up happening, but I think even so, I'm probably still gonna vote yes.
One thing I really liked about this club was how open it seemed to other majors. As like a non-engineering student, I feel like most engineering clubs don't have like events that like non-engineering students maybe feel open to going to or would be even interested in going to. And if you go back to the page with like all the different events, like a lot of those seem awesome. Oh, back to the photos. But no, like the self-care for your computer and like the computer's like ready just fun. But like I think a lot of this is just important, like good to like I know virtually nothing about cybersecurity to be honest, and I think it's important for us all to like be paying attention to in this digital era. But yeah, I think this is a great club and it's they're really trying to like educate us on cybersecurity, which I think is important, and I think it's not just for engineering
I also think it really, I mean, we were talking earlier about wanting, like, our Jesuit values, wanting to go out into the world, and that really plays well into this. They also have like 80 members already, which is really impressive. So,
I think from my perspective, as someone like who can't do any of the Into the Wild because of like Keystone and accessibility, this is like a great step of like below like Into the Wild. That way it's like there's at each level for accessibility. Just getting into each level. That's a very
Yeah, I'm actually one of the 89. So I saw the bio like around Skitty and I kind of love them. They were really, really, really active in the group chat, and then you can send pictures of mushrooms in the group chat, and they respond like the leader, the founder, responds instantly. And they identify with the scientific name of it, like with the species and legit. It's not even just like, oh, that's a no, it's like the entire name of it. Things like that. Anyway, so I think, and they went on foraging. That was really successful. I've never been able to go on those, but they were in this pretty often. And they actually the science of like the biology of all of the fungi is really cool. Like fungi.
Motion been pushed, second on the video. All those in favor of voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Alright. While voting, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Alright, approved. Super happy. Questions, comments, concerns?
I am disinclined to vote for turnout, and there's a couple reasons why. First and foremost, what their mission is and the events that they're doing is effectively what Enacted Scout does. Like honestly, to a T, the exact same events, the exact same mission and programming. And so, like, this is a part of our campus community that is so vital to what social justice looks like, and I think that, like, I would love it to be more of, like, continued with Enact and using the built-in structure of support that SCAP does have under this programming. Enact stands for Environmental Actions, and this is, like, literally what they're supposed to do. And so that was, like, my first thought when I spoke to them at the PSO fair, and they didn't have answers to how they were different from Enact, and so then I was like, oh, okay, like, benefit of the doubt, like, are you guys just trying to RSOify Term Week, which is also really important to our campus. We should all be supporting Term Week every October and April, and so I tried to see if, like, that's what their goal was to just be, like, a solidified structure for organizing Term Week, and they said no, they actually don't really want to be confused with Term Week, despite the name and everything, but that are interns under Professor Kristanovich, who, like, organizes it, like, that becomes, like, a student volunteer to plan Term Week that they want different than this. And so then I was like, well, you don't want to be Term Week, but you also don't want to be Enact. And, like, again, like, this is, like, a small but mighty part of our campus population, so I would rather it be, like, housed under these things that are already so solidified on our campus, like SCAP and, like, Term Week, as opposed to, like, doubling efforts. So that's my perspective.
I mean, I didn't borrow the studies. I didn't know that it actually makes it.
Yeah.
Point out might be something like that. I was looking at the stuff that they look super interesting, and I was like going through this, and I was like, how do you was looking at it seemed pretty knowledgeable, and like even getting some cool speakers and topics and research and all that. It seems really cool. I haven't even anything of those things. And you tell me the things that are actually quite helpful. That's what they said. If an act is very similar to this, I'll be sure to check it out as well. At least on the face value.
I think to exactly your point, Grace, I mean, it's nice that we just had our provost speak kind of about like how service is so essential to St. Clair. So I wonder if it's like, even if it is so similar to other service stuff, like, I don't know, it feels like weird to prohibit people from doing service, like, and just kind of being like, oh, join another club, even if it is so similar. I don't know if like, that really makes sense, but I feel like it is kind of like, oh, we are a school that does really emphasize service, so I don't know, we should be able to give people the opportunity to do it. I don't know if we like, yeah,
they are.
Okay.
They're the group that puts term week on.
They told us now.
Yeah, they told us.
Well, okay, there's quite literally no possible way they're not, because it has the weird capital legislation. Like, this is definitely the same group.
They said they wanted to be like very specifically separated from term week, which I agree is really confusing with their
Because it's the
marketing.
same professor who leads it,
Yeah,
and the same girls that I know run it.
yeah. I'm as confused as you are.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I see a friend who's been involved with you, sorry.
Yeah, I was also told they were separate, but I also wanted to say, term and week has been in contact a lot with NAC, Native American Culture Change, and that has not.
I think I want to go back to what Grace was saying earlier about this fear of creating too many spaces for a small population on our campus. I would love to see it become a larger population on our campus. But again, if we have an organization like INAC that is under a CSO, much more institutionalized, receives much more funding, that exists to serve the same premise, I worry about pulling people away from that space and then destabilizing this effort. I also going back to the idea of service from earlier. I didn't gather that they do any service in terms of going out to the community. My understanding was that it was much more focused on education and conversation and presentations on climate action in terms of meetings. So unless I misunderstood that or yeah.
I just want to add, I was on Enact my freshman year, and when I was on it, it was incredibly small, unfortunately, and I ended up leaving that just because of all this other stuff that I was doing got busy. But I will say that what Enact is at least supposed to be doing is identical to this. They do work a lot with Indigenous communities and advocacy. They work very, very closely with fossil-free divestment stuff. Enact, like when I was on Enact, we were the ones who were organizing the orange felt things at the president's, yes, like our juniors or our freshman year. But yeah, we did kind of action meetings like this is exactly what Enact does. And Enact also works closely with attorney. So that's I just have to second what Grace says. Like I think I support this so much, and I just think it will be so much stronger if it's under Enact. And I think having this be separate from that actually minimizes like the amount of impacts for us. So they're able to have less to do on our campus.
Actually, firstly, can we motion to extend the date? Why? Sure. Sorry, the 7th.
Motion from Group second from Tiago. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Okay, we're going to extend by 5 minutes here. Roughly 7 minutes, please.
Can I ask what, for those who are familiar, what Enact is is it an organization under staff? Number 1, and number 2, what actual events they put on? I looked at their Instagram, I saw they got a few things, but I just don't know how to work this.
So the way that staff is organized is into 4 departments, like major departments, 3 of which totally off-campus volunteer opportunities, 1 being on campus. And so under that are 5 programs specifically dedicated to social justice and service on campus, like Feminists for Justice, which is what Claire runs this year, organizes Slut Walk, like labor advocacy, Careers and Allies, the Strat Show, and Rainbow Prom, and then Enact is another one. Enact stands for Environmental Action, and there's obviously the hope is that it can have a resurgence because they're doing their hiring right now for next year, but that's a little overview into what Enact does. All programs in SCAP are supposed to have weekly programming, and so that's, you know, you collect gen members, you have the group meeting, do stuff together, but that's like an overview of what Enact is supposed to look like.
So I'm very a friend who's been involved since her in her freshman year, the past 3.5 years. Very local in her meetings every time. I don't even know how much you all know about terming and how extensive the programming is. It is a lot of work to put together, and they're
that's actually a process. We've done it before, right, with other
Yeah.
clubs, and actually join under SCAD. I think it helps them to rebuild, get people excited and stuff, and then they move into SCAD, into like a whole already set club group of people. But I also want to say that like this has been happening already. When they came to me, the staff advisor said that this is already going on. They just want to become a club. So I think it is very related to training. And they're already tabling and doing everything without even like being an artist. So even if you get or not, I think they'll still be on campus because they're very passionate about this.
So I was always seeing a sheet first in the campus. I think it's a great idea. Like, from hearing some of the points, it just seems like first year we already have a really good setup for the process. And like I like to say, the next 4 years are going to be zoologists and this category. But it feels like last when we talked about it, to become an artist, there are two things that would sort of disqualify you. One, if you're capable, etc. Or if you're too closely based on our sense, and we talked about product management. That was a space, that was a gap in the market, and that's what caused it. This doesn't seem like it's a gap in the market, it just seems like it's been in the past, it's going to take away from students who are doing more certain that I'd love to be in support of this, but I'm going to go ahead and it doesn't seem that.
Yeah, so that's something. Last year we lost 6 service clubs, so that's something to keep in mind.
I think that I agree with you, Vanch, in terms of like purely in theory, like if there is already an existing organization that's actually doing the events and putting stuff on, then yes, we should like leave them be. But I think the fact that Enact has been inactive pretty much, not really like as prominent on campus, and the fact that Turnout actually seems to have a member base, seems to be actually like having like consistent events, seems to actually have like people actually like engage with them. And I definitely think that abortion might be something we should consider, or maybe when Enact starts becoming active, that's something that could be something that's more, better for Enact to do. But I think in the current sort of state of affairs, where Enact isn't really like putting on stuff, where we have an organization that's trying to be an RSO, and they've already have events, they already have people coming, and they've already been like doing stuff on campus. Like I've seen the protests when I've been walking around in the past. And I think if there are like doing stuff that's affiliated with sort of Turn, that's why I would again think we should table, and I'm willing to draft an email right now to them asking like them to clarify, because I think that is important for us to figure out on the basis of voting, are you or are you not affiliated with Turn?
I think that's a very, to be quite frank, I don't think it's right to vote on this without knowing the answer to that question. But with that in mind, we can proceed however you guys choose to.
I'm gonna motion to table again.
Second.
Motion from Herb, second from Leo. All those in favor of tabling, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
What's the-
I still think we should motion while people still there. Curious to speak.
Can we let Carmen speak or Lily?
What?
Carmen and Tiana want to speak, because if we let them speak before we do.
Yeah, I just have to, yes. Well, you guys can speak, I mean,
Technically, you're
no,
not
I'm
supposed to do
saying,
that,
like,
but-
I'm sorry, it's like a standing rules thing, when there's a motion, I have to recognize it. And we just did, but we can also cover those comments, and then, do you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we can still table it, or I was just gonna say, like, I have their constitution right here. And it doesn't really seem like they're, like, the same, but I feel like they are affiliated, because they mention, like, in their purpose, like, to foster community among students with an interest in climate advocacy and environmental justice on Santa Clara University's campus through climate action meetings, community organizing events, and engagement in Turn Week. And they do mention, like, I think members do have to engage in Turn Week, and then part of their, like, PR and stuff is to promote Turnout and Turn Week. So I don't think there's, like, members are expected to attend some Turn events in October and April. So it doesn't look like they're, so I think they are two separate entities, but they are, like, it is a way for them to get people to go to Turn Week and stuff like that, like have solidified people and members that go to that. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
what they said when they were tabling to us directly. I think also in terms of the enact thing, I want to like iterate. A new enact PC will be hired within like the next 3 weeks at most, and will not be the person who is in that PC because they are graduating. And so regardless of whatever is going to happen, there will be a shift internally with staff. Unfortunately, the person who has been PC has not been able to facilitate enact as much as possible. And that those are the circumstances. But I also think that it's going to by again creating another organization, we are taking away from our ability to foster single collective space together, especially when we have an organization that is already institutionalized. And though again it is one specific program coordinator who runs enact, there are 29 other people within SCAP who are paid to do social justice work on this campus and within this community. And though that one person focuses on enact, we are a collaborative group, and there are 10 executive members, or members rather of our support staff team, including myself, whose entire job is to then go and support everyone else within those other program coordinator roles. And so I think it would be harmful to this movement, to this effort, to the continuation of it, to pull away from the more established organization that already exists.
We're time's up on this one. I want to just return to your point. It is, again, I have to recognize any motion that comes up, just in terms, it's a Robert's Rules thing, Stanley Rules thing. I can't just ignore the motion if you have one. Allison does bring up a good point though, just in terms of if, just be aware when you're motioning things that, we're at maybe a point where people feel like their questions are answered, so thank you for Alright, so we're gonna, this is tabled for next week, based on the proposed motion. So we're gonna move, and we'll go back to 10 minutes.
Oh, great.
Alright. Just keep in mind, we're not done yet, so, yeah, keep side conversations at 0. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is we're voting on SPC 10 from last week. So last week,
Nothing, actually one thing has, two things have changed. One, that comment right there, that's just more of like a semantics thing. Claire had asked me to change it from permanent member to ex officio member.
I feel like in my experience with Senate and ASG, like I have grown so much because I finally made friends and like really leaned into it. And I really want other people to kind of have that same experience. I feel like as soon as I got close with like Mercedes and Launch, that's when I really started doing more projects and like finding people that I could actually do things with. So I think a big goal of mine is just kind of making sure that everyone feels comfortable and everyone like automatically has people that they can talk with. I joke with Leo a lot that like he has like Stockholm syndrome as like being my friend. What's the one where it's like the one where you fall in love with your kidnapper? Like we're just friends because like I forced him to sit with me one day. But I feel like if we kind of like we're all like friends with each other more, like then it would just be so much more enjoyable. And you know you'll find people that want to do things with you. And I feel grateful that like I finally did get to that place. And I kind of want to just make it a good place for everyone to feel the same way. So yeah.
Any questions or comments for Charlie?
We love you, Charlie.
Okay, so in that case, we'll have someone who disclose that.
Respond to it. Ouch.
So this is Sophia, and I'm so any questions, comments, or concerns you have will be addressed to us. Yes.
So, like, what do you see in her?
I'll answer that question seriously. Charlie is like, I think, okay, so I think the hardest part about this job is maintaining a balance of, you know, you guys are all my friends, and I want to like come here on Thursday and have a good time with you, but at the same time, it's like obviously we have to go with you. And I think Charlie has that type of personality where she's such a strong leader, such a firm leader, such a positive guide, and then at the same time is very charismatic, is very friendly, is very welcoming. And so I have no doubt about her ability to strike that balance, and honestly I think that if you're able to do that, or at least semi-well, the rest kind of falls in line. And obviously she's been very productive, and she's just a great person. So that's what I said. Other questions, comments, concerns?
I am just interested in how many people apply for this position.
Charlie's been my committee this whole year. I've been her chair, and it's just been like the utmost pleasure to work with her. She's so committed. I feel like she came in and like immediately hit the ground running. She had ideas. She wanted to get involved. So I'm really excited that she took the leap to take on a leadership position here as well. She has extensive leadership position experience, and like you're just saying, like that balance between personal and professional, like her being the president of DG, like that's like central to the role, being able to manage that, and she has seemingly done that really well. And so I think that those skills will be super transferable to our organization as well. And it's just been like a blast to work with her this year. So I'm very happy for her.
Other questions, comments, concerns?
Motion vote.
Second.
Motion from Liz, second from Carmen. All those in favor of voting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, now voting on Charlie's confirmation.
the easiest is that, but for me, in junior year, I was senior stay, because that's how I was. But I was a junior, because I was senior.
It's more of a technical question. I don't know. So since applications are already open for this position and it closes next week, how does that affect people who are already, like if someone's already applied and they don't meet these standings, are they then eligible next year? So the application would close, applications for that kind of close Wednesday. This gets voted on next Thursday.
So, what I'll say for that is, yeah, this, I mean, this isn't gonna be theoretically voted on until next week. So, you know, as of right now, if you are a freshman, you could apply to this position. But I will also say that I think we all have the same mind in terms of, the experience required. So, but that's a good question.
Just one thing, right?
Yeah, no, that is.
Yeah, that actually directly applies to me, because I actually applied like yesterday, so would that like fill out my application? I don't really think, I
No,
just.
it wouldn't rule out your application if we don't vote this week. We're actually, this week. What?
I mean, like, I don't really care, actually.
Yeah, I'll ask you.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. Let's just bring it back in together. Yes.
Yeah, I also just want to clarify the wording, that this wording is from like as VPs and a chair bylaws. So like junior student, that's just like how it's written in the bylaws, so I didn't necessarily choose that. And I think like the VP and a chair what the bylaws, but that is a good page. I just want to relax that. So yeah, I think that's a question for all the other positions as well. But back to what Liz was asking, I personally think that this should be applied for next year.
Yeah.
And that's personally just because I just think that the first chief of staff has done this for, had this position for the term. And after sitting in this position, I do feel strongly about this. However, I also think that that's completely up to student employee as well, and how they want to proceed. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't care, I'm not the better.
Yeah, just, yeah.
I was just wondering.
I think to Tiago's point, I think just for full transparency, Sophia and I are looking for a junior senior. However, I think it's good to have this moving forward, just so that, you know, that's probably going to be the case in future years as well. And so we wouldn't want, yeah, we just want to see.
I'm personally in favor of voting on this bylaw change today so that it is, I guess, like, in effect for next term. But I don't know how you guys feel about this, because I did just present today. I want to give you guys time to, I guess, like, process it and just like, think about it more thoroughly. So I don't know, like, if I have any question, but I do just want Yeah, as soon as experience just like being a student and everything as an adult. I joined ASG as a sophomore, so I didn't necessarily have that like freshman year like experience joining ASG. And I think like a lot of the experience and connections that I made with like administration and just like overall like institution experience has been through other involvements on campus. Just through like my research, just working with the job. Actually, all this other stuff that I've done outside of this, she was really supportive in my role for this year. And I think that really
You know, I was gonna say the exact same thing that you would. I mean, I totally understand why you voted on it this week, and I would be in favor of that, but if it really weren't, then I would have entertained specifying a third or fourth year student, just because I do think like time on this campus matters, whether it's in ASG or not, especially as someone who also like a lot of my leadership experience came from outside of ASG. I definitely learned even more and grew even more being in ASG, but I still think like there's something, that's what makes it different between like just a first year, no matter how much they've done in comparison to a sophomore or junior, like the actual time to know the campus is so vital to being in such a high level position like Jamestown.
Yeah, I mean, as someone that worked with Sarah this entire year, before Sarah, there was Joe, and Joe didn't hold a position for the whole year because it was a new position, but she was also a senior. And from my experience, Chief of Staff, I don't know how people see it, but it's not like an assistant or like a step into exec. It's like someone who really knows the school culture, knows how to cultivate that within ASG, knows people. Like Sarah has been that person for us that like has like connected everyone in Senate, has like helped us with like ideas. It's more than just like someone that's like there to help with the small stuff. It's like way beyond that, I would say. So that's why I support this because juniors and seniors really have that connection with ASG and like with the student body in general, CSOs, RSOs, whatever it is. Yeah, that's my concerns on it.
You're very convenient to have the person who wrote this position in the room. So do you want to share what you
Sure. Hey guys, Sarah, this position. Hey, here. We didn't realize we left this language out. Very much intended to be in there. And we hired Jo because she has so much institutional knowledge. So we didn't realize. Sarah told me this and I was like, oh, whoops. Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely keep that for me for us. This was sort of
I just want to say, I think like the best thing you can do is listen to the person who's told it. I also just want to go with it. It's not us.
This is better.
This is the best person who's first.
Motion from Charlie to suspend the standing rule, second from Connor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion from Charlie to vote, second from Connor. All those in favor of voting say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, we're gonna do a roll call vote because this is a super majority.
Point of inquiry.
Yeah.
Is there more below, or is it?
Yeah, it's,
I swear, yeah. Like, are you able? I just we're voting.
I mean, if you have,
Can I just ask like the reasoning to have 5 office hours a week for the?
yeah, so, as we begin to mention, all have 5 hours, 5 office hours per week listed under the requirements. And again, I feel like I've kind of already done this before with my role, and I just think like having this like that within the bylaws is important. And as chief of staff, like I have recently just amended a lot of things together. I think it being really available that discourse with individuals in the ASG is very important. Also, these office hours So basically, handbook, but essentially that covers any drug-related offense. And also there's no limits on the amount of times you can use it, so. Kind of going off of the bylaw change, the VP applications are open. They're linked on the Instagram. They'll also be, I'll send them out in emails like that. If you're having trouble finding them, just text me and I'll send you any of them, the one that you want, I'll send it to you. Like Sarah said earlier, transition documents, we are going to be working on them next week. I'll link them in the email so you can maybe get started, but I was thinking we could do like a small, brief working period during assignment, sort of depending on how the agenda looks. So look forward to that. Town hall is Monday from 6 to 8. Yeah, 6 to 8 in the California Mission Room. I have a couple handlers, but if anyone is interested in paneling for that, just follow up with me by text, and we'll get you on there. So yeah, and then lastly, just in light of everything going on federally, we've made a form. I'll put it in the email as well. Essentially, like, if you have written something that is on the website in terms of like open letter resolution and whatnot, that you think jeopardizes you in any way in terms of like scrutiny, just fill out this form, just ask for your name, email, the name of the resolution or open letter you would like your information removed from,